Welcome back to the Go Shout Love podcast. If you are joining us for the first time, welcome. Each month, we tell the story of kids on rare medical journeys and sell creative apparel to help support their families. We're excited to introduce to you Beckett, our February 2019 kiddo. Beckett is a happy and loving 1.5-year-old who lives in Brenham, Texas. Shortly before his first birthday, his parents noticed some regression in Beckett's abilities, which ended up leading to the diagnosis of Leigh syndrome, a severe neurological disorder for which there is no cure. In this episode, Beckett's parents, Tyler and Katie, talk about the reality of receiving a terminal diagnosis and share how they've chosen to embrace every moment they have with Beckett in the creation of his bucket list. The Beckett-inspired t-shirt design combines the promotion of Beckett's bucket list as well as a challenge for all of us to be more present and pour into the lives of others. The idea of being a bucket filler is popular in the education world, so this month's shirt would make a great gift for any teachers in your life. Head over to our website, goshout.love now, and pick up your Live to Fill t-shirt, a mug, hat, or more. Each purchase will go towards helping Beckett's bucket list become a reality. If you'd like to shout love with us each month, join us as a monthly subscriber where we'll ship you a new shirt at the beginning of each month. Use the code PODCAST at checkout for $5 off your first order when you start a monthly subscription. We hope you enjoy our conversation with Tyler and Katie. If you love what Go Shout Love is all about, consider rating and reviewing our podcast on iTunes. Thanks for listening.
Tyler and Katie, thanks for letting us be in your home. It's good to get to meet you and you sharing your day with us and get to know your little man Beckett. So Beckett is 1.5, right? So he's born in June of 2017.
Yes.
And so I'm still getting used to the year change. Yeah. So you're 2 years out of school and you get married and you decide, and then you spend some time in Arkansas and Colorado and you decide we're ready to start a family. And so a very intentional, we're at this point in life, we're ready to kind of enter a new season.
Bought our first house when we moved down here.
Yeah.
And we're ready.
So you've checked all the boxes. You've done all the right things. You're never prepared to be parents, but you're as prepared as possible.
Definitely.
So when you found out, what was life like finding out that Beckett was on the way?
He was shocked.
I was like, no, didn't happen.
It was a little too easy.
It was first try.
Oh gosh.
So I was like,
there's no way.
I was like, it says yes. And he goes, no.
I'm not.
False positive.
Yeah.
No, I was telling her, I'm not believing it until the blood test. Like, that's what everyone says.
Until we get to the doctor.
Well, I was actually going to go out of town with my family. So I took it real quick and it was like way in advance. And I told him, he was like, no, there's no way. When you come back from this weekend, you can take another.
I was like, technology is not that good.
So were you excited to find out that he was a boy?
Oh, God.
We did a gender reveal. And
we did a
like
gender reveal. And maybe we'll get some pictures up on Go Shout Love. But, yeah, you wore pink, right?
No, I wore blue. I thought he was a boy.
Yeah. Oh, you did.
Because we actually.
So you kind of placed your bets.
Yeah, everyone kind of did. We did the pink or blue.
Yeah.
And then I actually wore like a blue polo with. It had one little pink stripe just in case. Except they said, okay, her sister handed us the smoke bomb, and I never told anyone this, but on a firework. You can see what color
so you saw
gunpowder's in there. Yeah. And I saw the blue, and I'm like, can't do it yet, can't do it yet. And then I lit it, and obviously
that's awesome.
The blue smoke.
As far as pregnancy-wise, no concerns during pregnancy. Everything was okay.
Yeah, it was
Perfect.
great. Yeah, I loved being pregnant. It was great. And, I mean, all the appointments were good. He was looking good, and all the ultrasounds.
And went full term?
Yeah.
No, he was born 7 pounds, 8 ounces, perfect, healthy. We were out of there
tired.
Like 2 or 3 days. I mean, it was all good.
Yeah. And you, which is something that's a little bit different than a lot of the families that we've talked to lately, is that you had an entire year of everything looking great. Really no indicators. He's splashing in the tub. He's smiling and responding to all these, different things. Tell us a little bit about maybe some of the first indicators that had you concerned that something might not be right.
Well, now looking back on it, not before. So when he was around 3 or 4 months, he started having a stridor. And so we went in and they were like, it's just a stridor. A lot of babies get it. It'll go away.
Is that the breathing?
When he was making that noise.
Yes.
So now we've known that that's connected to it. But he grew out of it.
In here's not developing like I thought at first.
So it was something you could hear.
You could hear because the larynx is just so flimsy and it's not firmed up yet. But you said he grew out of that. Yeah. But now that you look back, you realize that was an indicator. But at that time, it could have been nothing at all, or it could have been an indicator of several different things.
Because they were saying several kids have that, and they just grow out of it and they move on. Okay. But we went to. It was in.
My birthday.
Well, no, March. His 9-month well check visit. I went in, and he gave me the pediatrician gave me a piece of paper, and he said, okay, check off everything Beckett's doing, not doing. So I went through and I started looking how many no's I was checking that he wasn't doing. And so I asked the pediatrician, I said, what does this mean? Why am I checking all the no's? I mean, he is doing things, and I mean, at that point, he was sitting up on his own, holding his head up, pulling up, starting to crawl. I mean, you'd think he was good. And he said, well, looking at what you're telling me, we should probably have an evaluation done. So he sent...
this whole time I'm playing dad role, being like, whatever, every kid has their...
Yeah, he's like, they all crawl on their own. It's not a big deal.
You're just thinking he's on his own time, not too worried about it. So he schedules an evaluation?
With ECI, which is Early Childhood Intervention. Okay. And it's basically funded by the state. But they come in and they evaluated Beckett, and they told me that he was delayed 4 months gross motor. And the physical therapist that actually came as well mentioned that his hands were fisted. And she said, I recommend you guys see a neurologist because it could be cerebral palsy. I was like, really? So I ended up actually asking the pediatrician. I said, should we go see a neurologist? Are we this concerned? And he's like, yeah, I can give you a referral, but I wouldn't recommend calling it. And I thought, I'm calling right now.
In your pediatrician standpoint, the things that are concerned, maybe he's still interacting normally at that stage. Right? He's there's not, from a developmental standpoint, it seems more like gross motor, not as much maybe communication or things like that.
Yes, yeah.
So you get the referral and then try to get into a neurologist.
And during this whole process, he actually, on Tyler's birthday, he had come down with a stomach bug and got really sick.
Well, we thought.
And I guess it was a stomach bug. So these are called trigger sicknesses. So most of the time, a Leigh's kid, they have it when they're born or when they're made, but it doesn't show itself until a trigger sickness happens. So when he got sick in April, it triggered the Leigh's and made it start working, I guess. Is what
kind of activates it.
Yes, activating it. And so he ended up getting sick 6 or 8 times in that month that we were in the ER. And we were like, we have to do something.
We went in,
And they were actually mind blown too, because we have an outlet which measures his saturation levels. And they were dropping below 80 and somewhere even in the 60s.
Yeah, that's scary.
And when we went in, it would rise and drop. And the ER in Brenham, they were like, this is so strange. We've never seen anything like this. But finally, I was calling Texas Children's for the referral after all this. And they had told me it was going to be a year wait. And I said, I can't wait a year. And they said, okay, we have an appointment for July 19th. Would you like it? And I said, sure, I'll take it, whatever. Several of the moms in Brenham had mentioned at Texas Children's you have to call almost every day and just see if someone cancels and you can get in. So I called every day. And finally, the lady said, I have an opening tomorrow. Would you like it? And I was like, yes, I'll totally take it. I don't care who it is. I'm not going to research her.
Right.
Because at first I was researching and seeing, what was the best doctor. But I was like, I'm going to take her. Yes, we'll come. Tyler and I ended up going in, and she was like, this baby's perfect. Why are you guys here? He looks so good.
Just like every other doctor that had seen him before them.
We started showing
So this
her.
is post his sickness of being sick 6 times or 8 times in a couple months period.
Yeah.
And this is your first neurologist appointment.
Yes.
Okay.
So what is this?
This was
Second
in May.
week of May.
Yeah.
So he's just shy of a year old, and she says he looks fine.
Yeah. And so
Perfect.
Yeah,
Why are you here?
we started talking about showing her videos of things he was doing and now he's not doing. We started, she actually measured all of our heads. She was like, he has a huge head. And
She goes, Dad, are you an engineer? I said, far from.
But she ended up measuring all of our heads, and she goes, oh, it's just genetic
Yeah,
that he has a big
have
head.
big heads.
Because she was worried at first that meant something as well.
And she actually in her office measured your head?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fascinating.
all of ours.
Okay.
As the appointment went on, she said, regression is a red flag in the medical field. She said,
I can't believe you haven't been seen.
Yeah, she
I'm
said
admitting you right now.
and she's like, for y'all to go this long.
Oh, this is the same visit, same doctor.
Yes.
So by looking at him initially, she thinks he looks great.
Yeah.
But then once she realizes how
Show him
he's functioning
videos.
compared to where he had been functioning, that was the red flag. And so
Yeah.
he's admitted that day.
Yeah, that was our first neurology appointment straight to be admitted.
Straight
we walked
to the
straight.
late.
Yeah.
Well, kudos for you as a mom to say, I'm not just going to take whatever appointment they give me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to settle for a year. I'm not going to settle for the July date. I'm going to keep calling until we can get in sooner.
Well, the funny thing is after we got in, so we get in and they start running all these tests, blood tests, urine tests. We did an MRI, we did an EKG.
Everything.
I mean,
possible.
all of the big tests that you can do. And the doctor comes back in, and she's amazing. And she came and she started talking to us about different things it could be. She gave us 3 different scenarios, I guess.
This is
and-
where you walk into that room thinking everything is curable in this world.
Yeah.
Literally.
Like I thought, okay, we can fix whatever he's
No
got.
matter what it is,
we can handle it.
Yeah.
We'll do it.
everything's fixable. It's 2018.
Okay, so the neurologist comes in and she says, these are the 3 things we're looking at. She gave us the least concern and then the greatest concern.
And of course, we start Googling.
Yeah.
Was CP still on the list at that point?
No,
No.
it's completely gone. We don't. That's not
The
even.
first one was something they test for when the baby's born. The second thing was something
What was
we
it
had.
called? I can't remember it
I
now.
can't remember. And then second one was something that
You could
was
fix.
bad.
It was kind of like a
but
deficiency.
it was fixable,
Yeah.
but not like it wasn't a full life expectancy. But
When she told us.
but then it was Leigh's was the third one, and I'm like, well, you can cancel one out because they do it when he's born.
And
I
when
mean,
she tells us this, the third one, she sits down on the couch next to us and puts her hand on me and says, this one, I've had kids pass away at 3 and I've had kids pass away at 15.
but there's no cure
Yeah.
and there's no treatments.
And so then when, you
They
could just
walk
tell on
out.
her face that that's what she's thinking, because she was very concerned and very I'm going to show you love as I tell you. And
That's when we
she
had
actually told us that if we had waited to see the neurologist in July, that trigger sickness not being cured or healed, that he could have passed away by July.
Your being proactive saved his life, really. I mean, it gave him more chance of life than could have otherwise been if you had just said, well, we've already got an appointment set. We'll make it. It'll be okay.
Yeah, because so that when they get sick, it progresses the disease faster. So when he was getting sick and it wasn't getting healed, he wasn't getting hydration or he wasn't getting his medication that he would need. It just progressed it faster and faster and faster, and he would have progressed all the way to possibly death if we would have waited that long.
So when she communicated this, was it with a certain level of confidence that it's Leigh's, or did she say, I think it's this, we're going to have additional testing, or how did she...
She left it as that's all. She didn't give us really any hint that it was that. She wanted us to wait. So,
she showed us the visual pictures of his brain and Leigh's, and I was like, it's it. Like, look at the side by sides.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So to diagnose Leigh's, they do an MRI.
MRI, but then to actually see it's genetically done tests on all three of us, but they all walk out. The world just
that's probably the loudest
stopped.
I've ever cried. And so my parents,
all of us,
my parents had actually come in to be with us at the hospital because they were concerned as well and they were close. Mm-hmm. Tyler and I were sitting on the couch together. My mom she took Beckett outside. So my dad had to witness Tyler and I's breakdown.
And then Biddy or Grandma comes in and is looking at us like, what's wrong? And none of us could talk.
Well, because are you familiar with Leigh's going into this?
We were not at all.
Not at all, but just the fact of
how she explained
lifespan.
It.
Right. But what you walk out of the room is knowing that the dreams that you've had for Beckett and that the life that you want him to experience is going to be somehow cut short, and you just don't know.
Yeah.
At that point, it doesn't really matter what the diagnosis is, I'm guessing, right? You're just dealing with this new reality of...
I didn't even know what to...
So we actually had to wait a month after that to get our genetic results back. So that whole month I was looking at Leigh's.
Yeah. And so they weren't at that point, because you're still waiting on official diagnosis.
Correct.
So you're not treating. There's no treatments being done that month.
Well, they actually started him on a few medications that would have supported the other deficiency as well.
Okay. So just kind of a safety measure.
Yeah.
That was the first meeting. Sorry. Both of y'all. That was the first meeting. And then, but by the time we left the hospital what did we stay there, a week?
Yeah, it was a while.
She pretty much summed it up. This is Leigh's. Here's your next steps. We had all our team's genetics came in and explained what Leigh's was, scientifically. And so by the end of that hospital stay, we knew that it was most likely Leigh's. We just needed that genetic test for final punctuation.
Yeah, and still in my mind, he didn't have anything wrong.
Yeah.
So, that whole month, I'm like, we're going to get in there and they're going to say, oh, no, it's not Leigh's. His genetic came back good. It's not. Yeah. Even though in the MRI, he had 2 lesions on his basal ganglia, which is on his gross motor, which would explain why he was regressing gross motor. Because right now he's a 3-month-old is what they measure him at, gross motor.
Probably less now.
Yeah. But then...
So that you went from over a period of a week for neurologist admitted immediately, and then MRI results, scheduling genetic testing was all in about a week's time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then...
learning the world of...
We celebrated his first birthday, and we had all of our family. And then the next day,
we had a lot of family and friends.
Yeah, it was a big party. It was good.
Was that a bittersweet day? Knowing that was if you felt if you were pretty confident that the diagnosis was what it is at that time.
I think he was more confident, and I was kind of saying this is nothing. So I was like, this is just a typical day. He's doing great, and we had a great time.
Yeah.
And
then I'm the Debbie Downer that was just
the realist.
We got to go to the dang hospital tomorrow and be told your son has X amount of years to live.
Yeah. So we ended up on the day after his birthday, June 12th. We went in, us, my parents, and his parents.
Yeah.
And she told us the confirmation that Tyler and I both carried a gene that make Leigh's.
That appointment the day after his birthday, What was that appointment like? What did she say?
It was actually, we didn't cry.
We didn't cry.
I think it was because in the back of our heads we knew that was what was coming. From
leaving the hospital that day for like that next 30 days, your world just stops. Everything goes black.
You become experts as much as you can through Google.
You've cried out so much that you can't cry anymore.
And I think, once we got in there, it's just like, okay,
so what's next?
This.
I think it was more what's
Where do we
next.
go from here?
Yeah.
And when she talked about the diagnosis, she had mentioned in the first consult that this was, one of three options. And she mentioned that she's seen cases where, a child lives to be older and sometimes it's not the case. Did she give any indication as far as where he fits in that and what the indicators that put him in that timeline?
So she said the average age is 3 is when they pass away. But
average is tough on these kids.
Yeah, but then,
some kids don't show least till what, like 8?
So that's part of it too. The sooner it shows or presents itself,
that kind of starts the clock, I would assume, on that.
The quicker they pass. So like a kid can find out that they have Leigh's when they're 10, and then they might live till they're 20. So they have, a longer lifespan because the trigger happened later in life. Or at least
which is weird. Because no one doesn't get not sick for 10 years of their life. Right. So,
and maybe it's a certain type of sickness. Or
what trigger, like Beckett just getting a stomach bug triggering it.
And I'm on like a group of parents, where they talk about it all. And I've seen where a mom just had her kid and he went into respiratory distress right after birth and he had Leigh's. So, they started that process much sooner than we started. And then there's some that didn't find out till they were 2. There was a family where the little boy was walking, everything normal, and then all of a sudden one day he just collapsed and fell to the ground. Next day he was diagnosed. So it's just, it's a shocker.
Yeah. So for someone who's not familiar and hasn't heard of Leigh's, can you just give us a brief description of the diagnosis in layman's terms of what's going on in Beckett's body?
I'll get too scientific.
It's neurological. So the lesions on his basal ganglia control, where your gross motor is. So then that attacks how you can move. And as the disease progresses, the lesions move to the brainstem. And they think as of right now that his is on the brainstem, which
has spread to the brainstem.
Yeah, spread to the brainstem, but
he can't go under again, so we can't clarify that.
So I'm trying to think of how the best.
As it progresses, it's affecting how muscles can respond to what the brain needs it to do. Is that
kind of everything?
Which would include even breathing and the basic involuntary things that are necessary.
Yes.
I'll get a little scientific. So it's a mitochondrial disease that affects your body's energy, and then along with the brain lesions, basically just shuts your body down from the inside out. They call it the invisible disease. And
because you guys have these beautiful family pictures that if you didn't know something was going on, you wouldn't know that what you guys are dealing with just by looking at the pictures. You just be
like everyone else and say, "Oh, he's tired. He needs a nap." But obviously, they don't know what's going on.
Yeah. So you had kind of a month to prepare yourself for what you thought was going to be the worst case scenario of 3 potential diagnoses. What did life look like the next hours, days after that?
We really kind of
just went on with our life, but
mine was okay. I'm gonna get a cure. I'm gonna
you're gonna fight. You're ready to fight for yourself.
It sounds stupid, but I'm not going to just turn over and die.
Right.
I mean, our doctor said it would cost $500,000 to get a study. I'm like, well, okay, where do I start? And honestly, when you're in this position...
Well, actually, you told him you wanted that done, and he said you have to have 25 people in a study to start it, and there's only 22 of Beckett. So there's...
22 of the genes.
So technically in Leigh's...
There's a bunch of different...
So you have the umbrella of...
Yeah, the complex one, is that the 22 complex ones, or is it
even
smaller than that? Okay.
So you have like the umbrella of mitochondrial, and then you have Leigh's, and then under Leigh's, there's a bunch of different strands of Leigh's, I guess you could say.
Okay.
So like there's SIRF1, and that's the most populated one. But his is...
With the SIRF1 gene is affected or mutated to where it causes Leigh's.
And Beckett's is NDUFAF6.
I don't even know how she remembers that.
I've actually only talked to one other person in the entire world that has the same gene as Beckett. Right? Colombia.
Colombia.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how'd you connect with those people? Did you...
There's a Facebook group.
Please.
Yep. And there's only like 130 or 200 people in the group.
It's a great group, though.
But I would assume it provides for you a sense of community that no one else can.
Oh, extremely. There's one girl that I've actually gotten kind of close with. She's from Abilene, and her son is very similar in Beckett's progression.
Abilene, Texas.
Abilene, Texas, yeah. But he has a different strand of Leigh's. So they're not similar in that, but we've connected in the sense of I can talk to her about things, or we cheer on each other.
Yeah.
We can ask questions like her son just got put on CBD oil, and I was like, okay, how'd you get it, and how much are you giving him? It's like, because you can't ask the doctor that, so you're trying to figure out all these things, and you can ask all these people questions and experiences, and it's helped me. Even the last time we were in the hospital, I said, isn't that medicine toxic to mitochondrial patients? Because I had seen on the Parent Network that they had talked about that. And they're like, oh, yeah, it is, but we can give it to him. So it's just mind-blowing that if I hadn't looked at that and brought it up, I may not have known that and given it to him.
Because you're in a position where you're, as a group, you are eat, sleeping, breathing this condition all the time, whereas doctors that you're working with, at their best of their ability, are not. Yeah. They're managing a lot of different things.
Yes.
Of finding this balance of we're going to fight, but we're also going to find, we're going to try to make the most of our time. How'd you find that balance? And maybe still finding that balance?
Well, I think it'd be different for both of us, but I think I was, okay, we're going to fight. I'm going to find...
He was probably more the one that he's going to do the cure. He wants to start a trial.
I want to start trials.
Fixer. Dad the fixer coming in.
And then I was...
I get a big punch in the face, and you realize, like, where you stand in the world. Like,
you have to have a lot of money.
Because her sister starts a GoFundMe. And I'm like, okay, like, this is a super rare disease. Everyone's going to want to help us. I'm sure there's tons of money for it, like cancer and all the others. I'm like, I guarantee you we can get $500,000 to even look at a study or start a trial. And time goes by, and not even like 2% or 1% of that. I mean, I don't even know what that is, but
that was his initial, out of the gate was, I'm going to start a trial. I'm going to find a cure. We're going to do this. And I think my initial out of the gate was, I want the best life for him while we're here.
I think we kind of both use that as like, well, screw it. We're going to go travel. We're going to, like, we sat down one night and just, okay, the beach, Disney, hunting with me, mountains.
We're going to San Diego.
We're going to squeeze as much childhood memories.
Like,
avalanche
game.
And He may not experience them the way a normal child would, but it's a memory that we can all share together.
Yeah. What are some of those things that are on the bucket list that are the things that you're trying to do right now, the most important things you're trying to knock off?
Right now we're going, our next trip is San Diego.
I have some stuff for work, so it kind of works. I have like 2 days of classes, and then the next like 4 days we're going to do like San Diego Zoo, and she's the plan. Yeah. Why am I talking?
We have a few things planned. So we want to go to the zoo, the aquarium, the beach. We're going to go see Paw Patrol live because he loves Paw Patrol.
Yes. My son would be jealous of that one.
Oh, yeah. SeaWorld. We've gone to SeaWorld, and they were great. They actually...
shout out SeaWorld.
They donated where Beckett could have a special experience with animals. And, I mean, it was a lot of fun.
What did we meet?
The beluga whale.
The beluga whales. So you get
it was
to
very
be
cool. There's several things on there that, we've looked forward to doing with him.
Mountains, Alaska. Here's the issue. So she comes up with a reasonable list of things we can do, and then I'm like, okay, let's go to Alaska.
Let's climb Mount Everest.
Yeah.
Let's go to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Let's go to the Bahamas.
Fly on a plane for 8 hours.
But then the worst part is, okay, if something happens, what do we do?
I mean, they've told us, because I've talked to the doctors about the bucket list and our limits. And
they said, y'all need to contact us before you go somewhere, so then we can warn
the doctors in the area
that they study or know about Leigh's.
Get us
to help you have a plan in place in case something were
to go.
Yeah. And even they've expressed that a plane ride is hard on him. A car ride's hard on him.
Yeah.
So
you're in this place of trying to find this balance of bringing as much adventure to him and living that life while also keeping him comfortable and not. From a timeline standpoint, have they given you any indicators beyond that initial diagnosis, or is this just kind of here are the averages and we're gonna take it day by day? Yeah,
we've asked, and we've had some say I can't say. One said, well, look at where he's gone now. He said, take when he got diagnosed to where he is now and how much he has progressed.
How bad he's.
Then expect that progression to continue at that same
rate.
Yeah. So no one's really expressed an exact date or.
But they do say what's nervous, because the past year, or I guess past 6 months, has been so rough between him being dehydrated and having these sicknesses, and then with the disease and G-tube surgeries and wheelchair and ear, nose, and throat doctors and all the, it's just been in the hospital nonstop. Now that he's through all that and he's good, he's so enjoyable. He's not crying as much. He's looser. He's not as stiff as he was. But then we're told, they call it the honeymoon phase with these kids, that they start acting normal and fine, and then
it goes quick after
they
that.
pass. So now we're
is this the honeymoon phase?
Is this where he's at now? Is any
so
day?
You are dealing with that as the potential realization or the potential reality that it could be anytime.
Yeah.
They talk about it like every kid that has it does it. So now I'm like, I don't know.
You have before our conversation, you were talking about how it's almost like good things were lined up to help you deal with this situation before you really knew you were in the situation. When it comes to your housing and job situations and things like that, could you just give us a rundown of kind of how maybe you've seen goodness in the world, or maybe some provision, or just how that has happened, and then let us know how that how that has been provided for you a little bit.
Definitely. So when we were in Dallas, we got a random phone call and they were like, we have this great job, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm not moving. We just had a kid. Beckett was a month old. I was like, you are not moving me away from my parents. We just had a child. He's like, but it's going to be.
But it's my dream job.
Yeah. He was like, this is an amazing place. So we ended up moving down here despite me saying...
To Brenham, Texas, right?
Yes, to Brenham, yeah.
Just outside of Brenham.
And he starts working, and, you know, we're living in Brenham, having a good life. And
you purchased a house. You purchased a house preparing for the birth of the child, right? Or had Beckett already been born?
He was already born by the time we got married.
Gotcha. So then purchased the house in Brenham.
Brand new house.
Yeah.
And we had been here like a year after Beckett's diagnosis, and the Brenham people have been a blessing. I mean, we've had one of my friends, she waived her realtor fees when she sold her house.
Because immediately you were dealing with a ton of medical bills, I'm assuming.
Correct. Yeah.
Well, medical bills would be, well, first getting a job in Houston, because that's where
our doctor
like the
is,
only Leigh's, what would you call it? Guru.
Yeah, there's like 3 of them in Texas, and 2 are in Houston and 1's in Dallas. So, I mean, to put us right next to someone.
In Houston. Yeah. And then on top of it, getting the diagnosis, just buying a new house, insurance nowadays with how great it is. That's kind of a joke, everybody. But, yeah, so it's stressful. But
you were, I mean, just to be real about the situation, when his diagnosis came, the type of insurance that you had was not as beneficial as maybe some people might have had, where you ended up having to have a lot of out-of-pocket expenses and things that in some cases insurance might cover. For him, it wasn't. And so it put an additional financial burden. So you guys, you took this new job, and through that job, a housing opportunity opened up. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, my employer is amazing.
Very generous.
I work on a ranch, and there was a open house, and with Beckett's diagnosis and all the medical bills, our thought is, well, I need to keep working, but at the same time spend time with Beckett and help when I can and be right next to both work and Beckett. And they thankfully offered, or I asked, and they offered to allow us to move on property of my job, and it's huge. I mean, with savings of no mortgage and all the bills that racked up, and then not to mention Beckett and likes going out and riding around and seeing all the animals. So that's kind of a plus on that.
It's amazing to see how that lined up to give him that opportunity. Like, you don't know how long he's going to have here, but, you know, you hear a lot of parents as they get older look back at their time and they think, man, I had a great job, but I spent an hour and a half in the car every day or whatever. And you now have this opportunity that instead of those things that in the big picture are maybe a little less meaningful, you get to be right by the job, work, no commute, right in time with Beckett. And I'm sure that means the world to all of you. I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Thank you to the owners of our ranch. Y'all are the best.
Beckett enjoys watching his daddy work and spending extra time with him. Because
it takes 2 people to take care of Beckett. I mean, especially when that awesome insurance didn't pay for a wheelchair and carrying him. I mean,
he's heavy.
40 pounds is.
He's not 40.
30?
Yeah.
30. Sorry.
Pretty close.
Hey, it's still heavy. We've got one that's right
feels
that
like
age.
He's 100.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's dead weight.
Right. He's not holding on to your neck or helping you.
So, to make meds, and we think he was in more pain than he should have been. Like, we just thought he was wanting up, like grunting. And so now that we have his pain managed and everything, we can get away with Mom doing something and us kind of doing side work, like, and not one carrying, one doing meds, one.
Yeah, at one point we were having to hold him the whole day. He did not want to be put down. He was in so much pain.
So one was holding, one was cooking dinner. One was holding, one was giving or getting bath stuff ready.
Yeah.
Like, so it is.
So now it's the daily routine is just kind of maintenance to help him be comfortable and treat the things you can treat.
Yeah.
So that includes G-tube feedings, right?
Correct.
What other things as far as his maintenance plan?
He has some medication.
He's got surgery, maybe. The last month he's been throwing up in the mornings, and because his stomach empties slower.
It's called gastroparesis. So it empties slower, which means he's not digesting it as quickly. So it'll still be the same way that he's getting feeds. It'll just go deeper into the intestines. So it kind of skips the stomach.
Yeah.
But he'll be having that. And then he takes a medicine called baclofen, which helps with his dystonia, which is the stiffness in his arms and legs and his whole body, really. He takes seizure medication because he has seizures. But no, he likes to watch TV. Mm-hmm. He likes Mother Goose Club. He likes Paw Patrol.
Paw Patrol, yeah.
Yeah. We actually use a thing called a rock and play that's for babies.
Yeah.
But it's his recliner, and that's what he watches TV in.
Yeah.
It's the taco.
It is the taco. It looks like a taco. But no, I think the way we comfort him is with love and
getting the bucket list knocked out.
Yeah.
Even if it is Alaska.
Yeah.
How do you guys receive comfort? Who comforts you and how?
My parents are pretty good. They give us breaks.
Yeah. That's one thing that's tough is like she's working all day with him. I'm working all day on the ranch. And then it's like, when do we get our own time? Because, I'm out on the ranch. It's my own time, but it's still work. And then, so we've talked about that. Like, what do you try and go out like once a week?
No, once a month.
Once a month.
Yeah.
But they do, like, there's a thing once a week, but it can never happen because we're both exhausted.
Sure.
And
there's a mom's group in Brenham that I like to attend. It gives me some women conversation.
Sure. Yeah.
And they're great supporters.
Her parents every other week.
So they travel in to be with you?
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
Travel.
Yeah, my mom's really good with them.
Yeah.
Her mom knows all the medicine.
What'd you say her name? Like
Biddy. Bitty.
That's awesome. And then Grandpa's name is?
Poppy.
Poppy and Biddy. That's great. I love it.
But no, they come in and, my mom comes to the hospital for there and she helps out in that way. And when they're in town, they try and give Tyler and I a date night. Or, those are the things. And then when Beckett goes to bed, we get to have our time and we watch Live PD. Or, we have shows that we like to watch. And so we do have time for ourselves.
Now. I feel like it's real recent.
Yeah, it's just now that
we've gotten everything in routine.
Yeah.
Like,
we know what we're doing.
You do
it's a big deal.
You do this, I do that.
Sure.
And then it all makes the world go around.
Yeah. So without blank, I don't think I could do this. Meaning what has...
Without Katie...
Yeah.
Because for dang sure...
His mom always jokes. She's like, put your seatbelt on. We can't live without you.
Well, no, like, I know guys are the protectors, and I mean, men are weak compared to what women go through. I mean, I've told her a million times, like, and we've talked about it a bit, like, all the stuff that happens to him and watch him, like, makes me angry and anxious, but, like, the amount of power she does to hold him in her arms all day and to play with him all day when he's nonverbal and no moving, like, I mean, it takes a lot of energy and a lot of emotion and a lot of creativity. I mean, I can't do it. And when I watch him, like, I'm afraid to give him a bath because I don't want to slip. I don't want to rip his G-tube out. Like, it just, I will play with him all night long and we have a good time, but without Katie, by far, and you can't even lie and say without Tyler, because that's cheating. Because you could without me.
Without Tyler. No, I would probably say without
your parents.
People. I mean, just
actually
people that support. Like, you do see the good and you do see the bad in people, but the good in people, if you focus on it, if you didn't
outweighs the bad.
Yeah, if you didn't have people that supported you and that prayed for you and that loved you, I couldn't imagine doing this completely on my own with no other love.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah, I think Katie, what you're saying is right, that you, in the midst of seeing, like, it doesn't take long to look and see the ugly and the hurt in the world that humanity inflicts on itself. Yeah. And then there's the ugly and pain that is no one's fault. It's not inflicted by anyone, but just the reality of this world that we live in, like what you guys are dealing with. And I think that's what one of the reasons we love doing what we're doing is because we get to see these awesome people rally behind our families and say, hey, we're not going to be able to pretend to know what you're going through, or we don't want to offer shallow words, you know? But we want to at least let you know that you're seen, that you're heard, that you're loved, that you're cared for, and whatever extra we can do from a financial standpoint, then we're going to do our best there too. But it's so cool to see these families that they're going to love Beckett, and they're going to share Beckett's story, and they're going to feel like an extension of your family in a way, if that's okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they want to root you guys on. And they want to root Beckett on.
Very excited.
And it goes both ways now. I mean, when I see someone with disabilities, like, we'll talk to them and be like, hey, so what do they have? Or because they're going through the same stuff you're going through. And
well, thank you guys for letting us be here today and to get to meet Beckett and to take us on an awesome ride of the ranch. It's incredible. I'm so excited that that is Beckett's environment, that he gets to be with mom, but that dad gets to be close and that he gets to see all this cool stuff and
very peaceful place.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this is the perfect place. And thank y'all for choosing Beckett.
Yeah. Thank y'all for what y'all do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we don't make any promises or any we try to even be careful on expectations because every month is different. But our goal is to help the people who follow Go Shout Love, as well as helping you guys engage everybody that you know.
Yeah.
To tell Beckett's story, to celebrate Beckett, and to help fill up that bucket list.
Yeah.
We're going to do it.
So.
Yeah.
Cool.
Definitely.
Well, we appreciate you guys, and you're awesome parents, and Beckett's lucky to have you.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed our conversation with Tyler and Katie. Remember to use code PODCAST at checkout if you'd like to start a monthly subscription to support kids like Beckett every month. Thanks for listening and shouting love.